Good afternoon, everyone. This is a call of a special meeting, and teleconference meeting of the Franklin County Fiscal Court on Thursday, June 30th, 2022 is for the review of the administrative code. There will be no action taken during this work session. Each of you has received a packet that has the administrative code discussions that we talked about in our past meeting. Just, do you not have it?
I do, Judge, but the one that I presented is not in here.
So I didn't attach another copy of the admin code either. I just thought we would continue working from the packet from last
That's
time.
fine, but
The only thing I included in this packet were the things that I had a general consensus of 4
Right.
votes. And what I did was I just took those parts of the admin code and manipulated them to what I thought was close to what you all wanted.
Yeah.
So they're still just drafts. So if you all want to look at those to make sure they're what you all want, and we still have a general consensus, then we could put it on for our first reading
I
next
only
time.
have one.
That's a supplement that just came, but your admin code was in your.
I think, Lambert, I've got a copy of that. We can make
Yeah.
copies
I
of
can
this.
bring my copy.
Okay.
It's in the truck.
Okay,
Alright.
copies.
We can make copies of it, talk about it.
Here you go. There you go.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I saw that.
Yeah, Lambert needs a copy of something.
Okay, I got it.
Don't you have this?
Does anybody else need it?
Yes.
The one that Lambert prepared that's
She's
not
got
in
it.
our packet?
Yeah.
Cool.
Lambert
Okay.
prepared one?
Mhm.
That's fine.
You did.
You did?
Did you all bring your admin code from last time?
I got all my
Didn't-
stuff.
I
Did you
thought it
guys-
was with, I thought I had it with this other stuff, but I didn't bring it.
Okay. You want me to get you another copy?
Well, let's just review this and see if we need to go back to the.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got enough.
So let's start with the first one on the agenda, or on the, that we discussed last time. It was something to do with Nelson County's policy. The
Yeah, but
attorney
that-
was looking,
Rick was gonna look at that.
And, okay, so he
That was
sent
this.
something over late this
That's-
afternoon that I printed out for you as well. And it says admin code at the top. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, y'all, my apologies. Siri sometimes does not understand my rich Kentucky accent. So there were some errors and I had to correct them and these should be a little bit better. So please forgive me for my spelling.
I noticed your misspellings and
That's, you think you did, you should have seen what Siri thought about it too.
Mhm.
all right, Rick, will you want to review this with us?
Yeah, I know you've got it in front of you. I just tried to draft out kind of just eyeballing what I understood the court said they wanted to do as to a statement from folks when they get county issued property of whatever kind. Just subject to your all's review on it. I tried to spell out that the property was county owned. It had to be supplemented from time to time upon destruction, et cetera, and it had to be returned upon the departure, which is probably much better than I wrote it out, but that's the meat of it.
And then each
Okay.
employee will sign this as they are hired, or should they sign it every year, or how would that work, Rick?
The way I was advised from the court the other day was there would be a starting point for employees when they're appointed on certain, and then followed up from there would be employees who have certain items, and then eventually those would be modified as changes come in. I think there was discussions about change of cell phones or items get dropped. There was some discussions about clothing items, et cetera, that there would be sort of an ongoing track for those things. In addition, I know, your phones or your computers change, et cetera. And when those are upgraded, it's from time to time, you would just note what items you have on a given day. There was a discussion about how county-owned properties got the tags as Franklin County, et cetera, to identify that it is Franklin County property as opposed to just general property.
Go ahead.
Rick, this is Scotty. I've got a couple questions. Who will
who will oversee what I would call the master copy? Will that be,
We
will
discussed
that be in
that.
a folder at the, held by the department head and HR?
That's really a discussion for you all to delve into. The only place that I had department heads listed was they would be responsible because they would be the ones submitting items to employees. So they would be the ones responsible for modifying it from time to time. And then I have the judge executive's office for final return when an employee moves, changes jobs, leaves the fiscal court arena, et cetera. So whatever you all want it to do, remember, this is just a draft at best, subject to comments back. I just tried to get something in something to talk about, basically, consistent with what I understood your all's discussion was last time.
Okay, and then my next question along the same lines would be, and I'll use, let's say, the fire department or the sheriff's office, for example. If I've got a radio or if I've got a piece of equipment that's got a property number on it, obviously there should be, if there's damage or if there's updated equipment, there should be some sort of return paperwork showing that I turned it back in. And that probably, that probably should be held by the same individual that's holding the information of issuance per se.
I did there, that's on there upon modification or changes, et cetera. And that's when I had the department heads. Now, court, just be mindful that the sheriff's office is not included in this administrative code issue. And that's, I know we've talked about sheriff's office, but they drive cars, for example. They have their own procurement on who gets to drive a given car or a radio, et cetera. But the same application would apply. Ultimately, it would be the department heads who are issuing those things from time to time.
Right, and I understand that. I was just using them, like I said, as an example.
Okay. But again, however you want to set it out to be on who and I'll focus on department heads because that's more applicable. The department heads would be the ones primarily responsible for those modifications or changes from time to time. At least as I designed it, but change anything you want to.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I can hold my question if we want to go ahead, and since this issue was discussed last time and brought back up, we probably should resolve it before we move on.
You're not,
And I'll
you don't
hold
have
my-
a question about this one then?
Just, no, not, it kind of is, but I can wait till we figure out the who.
This particular issue
Betty Jo, are you on? Betty Jo?
about the. who-
I am.
Hey, Betty, all right, a new employee comes in. They have paperwork that they fill out in your office. That, could they at that time have if this document, you can't see it, but anyway, what the administrative code says, and as part of this document, have a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it would be a listing of all materials, including clothing that is given to the new employee on this date, signed by the department head.
I would be happy to do that, but I won't know. Basically, when the employee leaves here, they do their benefits and their payroll and their admin code. I would be more happy to sign it, but I don't know what is given to them. The department head.
I didn't want you to sign it.
No, what I'm saying is,
Excuse me, Betty. What I'm saying is this: the piece of paper would be as part of the new employee packet. And the part of the new employee packet would be that they would take this and they would have the department head or you could give this to the department head for the department head to fill out that this is this is the equipment, outerwear, whatever that will be given to the new employee on this date as part of being a new employee. Then they would sign it, bring it to you, give it to you, or the department head would give it to you, and it would go into, the main thing for you is One, it's in their personnel file and it's kept by you in their personnel file. That's all I think is part of your piece of it.
Yes, I can do that. I can have them sign the acknowledgement form in front of me that they will abide by this policy. Once they sign that, I can scan it to the department head and then they can put down what the employee has. The department heads can send it back and I can put it in their personnel file.
Perfect. 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 Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, everybody
Yes,
see that's kind of
it's,
a route.
it is
Rick,
acceptable.
Rick, are you okay with that as an attorney that we do it that way? Okay, I'm gonna take that as a yes. All right,
Silence.
I believe it was
The court's key was to have at least something in writing that acknowledged that individuals are receiving matters of property and that those are to be returned upon discharge or move around within county government. And that's what I understood to be the goal.
And or return, because it's as important that it's documented that something's returned.
Yes, sir. Yes. And if you'll note things like including but not limited to, things like that, because who knows what a given person's going to have as their job duties on any given day.
I do also think that Betty, as time moves forward, we have periodically, we have department head meetings. As department heads will learn a process of if new equipment or other equipment is distributed, they would make sure that you get an updated copy of that, of what has been given out to the employee.
Yes, and also what we can do is what they're talking about is when they return say if a road worker returns the equipment to John Mitchell, he will have that form down there and he can update that form as when they returned it and put a date on it and send it back to me so I can have that they did return the property.
There'd be two forms, the same, there would be a copy of the form. One would be in the department head's file for the employee. The other would be in the personnel file for the employee in the HR office.
Correct.
Deal. Our Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. I know this lists some items and I appreciate the counselor putting some things on there. And as we did discuss last time, we did talk about clothing, computers, tools, cell phones, etc. One of the things that we really didn't cover, if there were examples of manuals or written documents that were provided to the employee. And for example, a good example of that may be like an ARPA manual that comes to us because that is so critical for us for the next few years. Is there a way just to make sure we note that if you create that kind of work material or you receive that kind of work material, when you walk out the door, you don't take your, for example, ARPA manual with you because whomever is coming in after you, going to need that work product to do what they do. I don't know why anybody want to take that, but just as an example, because that's a very critical piece of.
Normally in Tambra, Betty, there's more than one copy. There's more than one employee. I mean, yeah, I guess.
Well,
you-
I think, but if say the county treasurer makes a guideline to her job booklet, like several of the applicants said they
mentioned
would do. You want to have a copy of that left here.
That's what I'm trying to say.
They made it, but they made it on.
But I'm
county time.
saying that, yeah. Because that is a work product,
Yeah.
a work document, or a working tool.
I see what you're saying.
That's a working tool.
I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just trying to figure out.
What you mean?
Consequently, also, on the same line, I know that if you're here for a while, in 20 years when you first came in, there was a document that you got, and 20 years later, that document, I haven't thrown it away yet.
But it's useless,
But
yeah.
it is totally useless. So.
Yeah.
You may want to. What you're saying is you can't throw it away if it's a document that you got or something.
I'm just trying to say there are other work products that are tangible products like manuals, like, you know, I always call them a ticker list. You know, I tick this off, tick that off, tick this off as I, you know, to make sure that I did whatever I needed to do for federal reporting or whatever. And it's critical just so that a new employee coming in doesn't have to sit there in any position if that is created or is a work product that's
Recreate it and
assigned to
get paid
you.
to create it
That
again.
is right.
What I
That's assigned to
think,
you.
what I think might be easier suggested, because we will not have a list of these documents, it would be as part of this verbiage, we add a line that says, any documents pertaining during your tenure of work, that would be part of your position, please
Remain here.
remain in the office.
That's all I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So that's all I was trying to say, whether it's a sentence or however that works out for the counselor, just, we're all driving at the same place. That's
Yeah.
exactly
So
what I was
so,
meaning.
uh,
Thank you.
Canberra, can you come up with that verb, or Rick, could you give us some verbiage on that?
My understanding on the last report was focused on personal property, that is things you can carry around and move around as opposed to computers and software or the actual computer system, manuals, things like that, which are covered in a whole different section. We can definitely add, and if you'll look again on the page that you got today, I used the word including, so we can add just one line of something, but that's why I made it broader, because the court's focus was on personal carrying around type property.
It does
Yeah.
say any other work-related items.
Yes, sir.
Well, there you are.
The only reason I bring that up is because someone may not necessarily see that as a tangible item. I don't want to quibble, split hairs. I've seen that happen
Maybe
before.
add like
And those are,
work,
Booklets and manuals.
produced work or something like that, something.
We can look, we'll have Canberra add a
Yeah.
work product
document or
Produce
something
work
in there.
product.
Yeah, I
Okay, Rick?
tangible versus
Employee produced work product.
I think we got it.
Employee produced work product.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, so your intentions are to have this policy, and we'll work on some more language as, to be in the admin code, correct? And then this also would be a standalone document with the employees to sign on, correct? Okay,
Yeah, during the hiring process, when Betty Jo gives it to
Okay.
them, they take it to the department head
okay,
and their
just
department
wanted
head
to make
checks
sure
off.
that you didn't want this like a separate policy
There
on
are
its own.
gonna be two places to keep a document. One in the department head's file for the employee and one in the HR file for the employee.
that wasn't me.
Andrew,
Yes.
I do do it.
You listen to
I
enough
just
music,
poured
that
water.
doesn't, you can't hear that.
What's, Judge, can you hear me?
I got you, Andrew. I can hear you.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I'm gonna run back there real quick. Hang on with us, guys.
Oh, yeah, it's my fault, of course.
All right, okay, you ready to go to the next one? Okay,
I know we've talked about issuing and receiving. What's the policy if something, let's say a laptop's left in a vehicle overnight and it's stolen, or an employee loses something? Do they have to write a letter? Do they, I mean,
typically what we do is a police report or some type of report, and then we will file with our insurance company.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't know. I just,
Mhm.
since we're talking
we have that.
issue and
Okay, And that's number,
So
We
let me
didn't
ask a
think there-
question. At that point, then this document would be whatever modified, by the staff that took.
that was it. Is there somebody in the other room? Is it somebody in the other room, Andrew? So cable 10's not there? Is that cable 10 there? It must be cable 10. All right, let's go to the next item. Change the code to be applied to comp scale every other year as recommended by the Johansson Group. See attached 39 for a possible
Wording.
wording.
And it's on that second page. And I just added a couple words there.
On even years 22, 24, 20. Okay, I thought that we wouldn't increase it until 23, we weren't gonna do it in 22.
Well, it's going to apply to it this year. So, and we're in an even year, so that's why.
I don't
Because
think
the
I
admin
should
code
vote
says we
on
have
this
to
since
every
I'm not
year.
gonna be here.
So after this year, because
And not if we change the admin code to starting 23.
takes 2 weeks.
Can you refund it now?
However,
That was just for vacant positions, is that correct?
no, so the comp scale, we have the old comp scale. As a COLA is given out, that comp scale moves up.
Raises it. Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
Well, the Johansson Group included the first 5% as of January 1st, 2022 in the comp scale.
Well, where am I? The other?
I
Which
think
comp
it
scale
is,
Are we adjusting?
I'm against it. I'm gonna vote no.
What are you against? We haven't decided yet.
Oh, well, the COLA being applied every other year. I mean, not if it's what year it is, just every other year.
Oh,
We're doing that because we want to save money. Is that right? Isn't that why we're doing that?
No,
no.
Why are we doing that then?
Because it ends up hurting new it hurts existing employees
Oh,
because the scale, they came in at X and the next year, somebody's gonna come in at Y. It's the same as what, in other words, you're
They
getting
started it.
penalized for what you.
For staying.
They have a year of
Well,
experience and a new hire.
Yeah, but it's
It's the
gonna
same.
happen.
It creates
With
compression.
2 years, it's gonna be the same.
Well,
well, get some
It
separation.
allows separation.
Well, here is the thing, Marty, none of us at this table we all have our knowledge based on personnel in one form or fashion on the work that we've done or doing.
Mhm.
The Johansson Group was asked this same question, what should we do because of this issue? They're experts, and they said, this is what we recommend. This is what you normally do when you have a compensation package. You don't increase it every year, or you're going to have these issues. You do it every other year, or you do it in incremental years, different years. So they're the ones that are saying this is the best way to do this.
So,
You do what you want, but I'm just saying, it's not,
Well,
it's
of
really
course
a
I can.
recommendation by them.
yeah, I just think it's too hard. And it's still gonna cause arguments, and people being upset, because people get upset about the tiniest things, I just think it's too hard to administer, but I'll vote and that's fine.
Okay.
And
And
the
I'm
reason-
not gonna be here anyway, so.
And the reason I put even years is because it is too late to change the admin code now to make a difference on this year. Also, what pay scale is it being applied to? Is it being applied to
There we
the
go.
one with all the
You
positions
can
listed?
apply it to both of them, can't you?
Or,
Until one is adopted. Why couldn't you do that?
oh, I don't know. Just-
I think we'd have to apply it to the existing scale, because that's what we have in place. The others just
It hasn't been
Right.
adopted
hasn't
yet.
been adopted, and according to my notes, we said we would push, that would go back to committee.
Mhm.
So that's according to my
So
notes
if
now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Okay.
that word verbiage, Timber?
Are you all okay with what I put?
Where the COLA thing or,
Yep.
Yes.
oh, okay.
We're not voting on it tonight, so we'll come to the next meeting, I guess, right? So first reading.
Yeah, I can do these as we work through them for first and second readings, or we can wait and compile them all at once. Do it.
What do you all say?
All at once.
Okay, wait a minute. So this, the way I read it, it says the pay plan set forth in the following pages use the federal minimum wage as the base point for all classes, right? Everybody's reading the same one. And then after that, the compensation plan schedule will increase on even years by the CPI authorized by the fiscal court. Compensation plan schedule.
The only thing.
Is that what it's called in the current plan? I got a little compensation plan schedule.
Cost
That's
price
what-
index.
That's what the admin code reads now. It reads exactly how number 6 is
Mhm.
without the red.
Oh, I don't see a, oh, here it is. On even years.
I struck out annually and added on even years 2022, 2024, 2026.
Should it say at the beginning of the count of the fiscal year?
I think it should be adjusted when it comes, because it could
When it comes?
decide to come in March.
Well, that's
You
the
know,
thing. I mean, we have done it at different periods in the, based on,
By doing
And-
extra hamster.
yeah, and we don't hamstring ourselves to absolutely one thing.
Okay.
Because sometimes we don't know what our financing is till taxes come in and, you know, while we've done some in
Gotcha.
January and, you know better than me.
So everyone's good with this.
So,
Okay. The next one is authorize the park director to hire part-time and seasonal employees and provide support with new hires or rehires at the next meeting. Interviews will continue to be held by the park and HR director with drug screens and background checks performed prior to being employed.
Mhm. So the language on this is not perfect by any means.
What do you think's not perfect?
Well, I went back and forth. I wanted to make sure that no one was confused that just because they could offer them employment then, that they did not still need to have a background check and a drug
Oh.
screen
Okay,
formed on them. So it would be contingent upon that, but also new hires have to be approved by fiscal court. So I needed a way for the approval, so I used the word ratification. Does that make sense? So they will already be probably working and could have been working 2 or 3 weeks by the time it comes
yeah,
here.
that
but at
was the
least-
whole problem
Right.
that Charlie described.
Mhm.
Okay,
Charlie, are you on, Charlie Lewis?
Yes, I'm here.
Seen this and what it says?
Yeah, I read through it. I mean, if it allows us to move forward and just, and speeds up that process of getting the seasonal part-time people. You know, at the end of the day, it's about staying in the budget, you know, and making, whether it's a couple employees or several employees work within a time frame. That's the main thing. It was just taking a while to get them in here. And I know it's been hard to hire people everywhere, but we just had a couple extra hoops that we had to jump through. Whereas if we could have interviewed them, myself and Betty Jo, and as long as their background checks came back good, and the drug screen, we could start them sooner than just waiting for a specific court meeting per se.
All right. Any questions? Go ahead.
So, thank you, Judge. So my question is, where this says in the budget, funding is available in the budget. So we've had to move funds before from line item to line item. When this says budget, does that mean the part-time line item, the personnel line item, because this could be taken completely differently. For example, if there's not enough funds in there for the people that we need, we'll have to move funds from one line item to another. So, is that the overall budget, and we allow them to administer the overall office heads, the overall budget that they have been approved for, and then saying, okay, I'm going to hold off on buying a mower, just make up something, because I need the people. And so for me, it's more important than then come to make that case to the court and say, we're run over with people. We'll make do on the mower later. I'm just trying
I
to,
know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So are you saying that you could only do it if your budget allows for it? Or are you saying that as long as his budget in some form or fashion can pay for these people, whether he's.
so right now, as you know, we have line items for things. Personnel is a line
exactly.
item, part-time is a line item. Okay,
Right.
so there's a distinction. So are we saying it's with it, is it that we have funds in the line item for it, or the overall park budget to do it? Okay, so there's a difference.
I would think that,
So
I would think that you would want it in the overall budget, that you wouldn't have to amend the budget to do it. If the park director, and we're using park, but it could be another department head, if they see that it could be an emergency situation, it could be in any situation would say, hey, you all approved, you're gonna approve this position. I'm willing to give up X, Y, and Z to have this person here because we need them desperately.
Yeah, that's why I'm throwing it out that way,
Yeah,
just to make sure that we're all on the same page, and that later on, we don't come back and say, well, that's not really what, we didn't talk about that. Trying to make sure we do talk about it today.
But this is how we're doing it now.
It could just, the road superintendent not order as much salt, so he can hire some part-time.
Absolutely. That's all I mean, just so that we're all clear on that. Because I think, we give them the latitude to figure out what it takes to run their department. And I'm supportive of that, but I'm just trying to make sure we all understand that that's what that means.
Where is it? Where
The wording,
did you
where is
say
it?
that it's
Yeah.
there?
Oh, I didn't know about the transfers. I mean,
So the red is what I've changed. The black is what was the existing verbiage.
oh, okay. And we do have an
Okay.
emergency clause in our administrative
Yeah.
code.
And I think the line item stuff, again, I think Charlie comes to us. I think they all come to us. And I think that's one thing you hear is, I've got a new truck in the budgets. I'm gonna buy a new truck. It's in the budget. We are aware of that. So, yeah, I mean, I see what you're coming from in regards to,
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure we're all on the same
Line item
page and
budget,
everybody
yeah.
understands
yeah,
that,
I get it.
we give the latitude to operate your budget. As long as you stay within your general budget. I just don't want anybody to get bogged down in there's not enough money in the line item.
Yeah.
If that's what the director of the area says we need, then that's what we need to hear. We need X, Y, and Z.
It
do
says
my job.
budget. It doesn't say
I-
line item, personnel.
So keep it
line
that
item.
way.
Right, I'm
Keep it
just,
budget.
I'm just trying to point it out that, we're not trying to micromanage that it's real important that they continue to have the latitude.
Right.
That's all.
So is this language okay with everyone?
I think
In the budget, yeah.
Hang on. I'm still reading, be sure.
Maybe hard.
We have to approve the transfer. anyway.
Yeah, and this is the only this is the only department that has been discussed for this, not others. So just. So when this says they, that means the applicant, right? The
Mhm.
applicant may be
Yes.
hired at that time.
Mhm.
Do we just?
If applicants are qualified for the vacant position,
Mhm.
funding is available in the budget, and the park director and human resources director both agree to offer the applicant employment they may be hired at that time pending results of section 4.
Which is the background checks and screens.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Is there any additional information, because this is specific saying only the names come to fiscal court thereafter? Is there any other information we want to see as a court? This just says a list of names. This says nothing else.
It says a list of all hires, their application and background check must be presented to fiscal court at the next scheduled meeting for ratification. So you would still get the same information that you would actually get more information than you do
I see
now.
what you
Because
mean
sometimes
now.
the background checks aren't in, and we say on the abstract pending the background check. So by this time, it would be here, so you'd actually be getting more information.
I'm sorry, I'm missing that part because I'm only focusing on the red. My reads
That's in red.
mine reads a list containing the names of all hires must be presented to the court at the next meeting. Am I reading the wrong thing? Well, absolutely. I'm reading something that's newer than what I had.
What do you-
Thank you. Sorry. Mine reads,
So do you
Here's
have the
exactly what
packet
this-
that I sent in the folder?
that's where I pulled it from, was in the folder.
It's
So
in-
maybe I'm
was in
obviously reading the
this
wrong.
It was in our packets for today.
That's what I pulled. I pulled that out of here. So I'm reading, I think maybe the previous one. Because what mine reads, mine says, it says, if applicants are qualified for vacant positions, I'm gonna skip the words crossed out. Funding is available in the budget, and the park director and human resources director both agree to offer the applicant employment, comma, they may be hired at that time. A list containing the names of all hires must be presented to fiscal court at the next scheduled meeting. That's what mine says. And then Lambert gave me one that said something else.
Okay, is that from the previous meeting? Oh, that was a draft one. I think we were talking about at the last meeting. So you should have, you have this with your meeting call on
I
it.
just got the wrong thing, obviously. I'm
It
reading
says
wrong.
agenda
And their
abstract.
Well,
info
I'm gonna
packet
read this
side.
because it's in my hand.
No, it's not in the info packet. It was a call to a special meeting. And then it said,
But it was in
Section 4. Okay, a list of all hires, their application and background check must be presented to the court.
For the applicant employment. They may be hired.
I think it should be gender.
It needs to be- Rick and I went through that whole thing at the
Yeah.
very beginning of this, and he didn't want to change any of the pronouns.
I got you, I got you. All right.
List of all hires, their application and background check must be presented to the court. Ratification.
ratification.
Thank you.
That's what you were talking about. Okay.
This is like,
It is-
All right, are we at a point, say okay,
Next page,
I'm
yeah.
saying okay,
Okay,
you say okay, move to the next,
yes.
all right?
okay. The next one is because if you change something one place in the admin code and it's covered somewhere else and you don't change it there, then you have conflicting information.
Yes,
So.
thank you for looking through that.
Yes, if you all are going to apply the CPI every other year, this needs to be changed as well in this section, because this
Part-time
mentions the base
price-
salary would be adjusted each year. We can either remove it or modify it to say the same thing as the other section.
This, the part that's supposed to go back to committee.
Huh?
Is this the part that's supposed to go back to committee?
No,
No,
This wasn't.
no, that's just another section that mentions.
Needs
kind of
to
the same
be,
thing on a different section.
Right, and we can just strike that if you'd like, or I can just use the language again. Striking it to me is the easiest thing, because if you all decide to change it later years, you gotta remember to change it here again as well.
oh, I remember
It might
doing
make it
this.
easier.
And it was discussed at length at that time, and we felt that it was right. So,
Now, the bottom section I just put in blue because I wasn't asking you all to change that. I wasn't.
The bottom section.
So right under the red strike and the red new language,
Oh,
I
yeah,
just.
That's just
kept that on
talking to
there So
us.
that you all
Yeah.
would know that that section, that's the part that will be going back to the compensation committee. as far as proceeding.
So you're wanting us to strike there should be 2 classifications of employees?
The base salary schedule.
Oh, you want this, okay. See, normally red means this is what you.
I'm glad you know it.
All right. Anybody have any issues with that?
No,
I'm still reading.
You're saying strike it.
Strike.
I mean, to me, I would, so that you don't have to worry about changing that section again.
If we change the other section in the future, and
You
we
have to change
forgot to
this.
change that too, it would contradict itself.
And that has
What?
happened many times. That's why this admin code is like the mess it is.
Because the only thing we're striking is the base salary schedule established shall be increased by the percentage, and we've addressed that
Mhm.
on the other change from the recommendation by the Johansson Group on the COLA. That makes sense to me.
Okay,
it doesn't say anything about money. It just,
No, it does. It's all about matching one.
yeah,
about putting A and
about
A
their
together.
job descriptions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
make sure nothing's cut.
so delete it, yeah.
Well, it makes sense. Rick and I when we went through it in the multiple meetings, there were a lot of inconsistencies that we found a lot. And those got addressed in the compilation or whatever process, because remember, I brought about 16 pages of stuff in here.
Yeah,
And a lot of that has been addressed and fixed,
thank you.
which is a good thing. I
Are
mean,
you
to get
all
it all.
okay with
That is
Thank you.
correct. We had some pronouns and adverbs and different inconsistencies in that. And I think as Sherry said that they all cured that on our codification, or I understood attempted to cure it.
Oh, don't
Well,
say
there were
that. Don't say that.
statutes that were obsolete. There were a number of things, Rick, remember that we went through.
Let's don't talk about it.
all right, okay.
Wait a minute. I don't know, Sebastian, are you okay with striking it? So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
All right, the next one is Lambert's.
Oh, yeah, okay. I wondered about that. Number,
And so
there you go.
Lambert, you brought this up. You wanna talk to us about it?
Well, I just think that we should advertise internally and externally. If our guys are the best, they're gonna raise to the top, and I think usually they will, but I just think we should advertise for,
So you're saying that,
it wouldn't affect, say,
It would
the
not,
ladder, like the fire department, they take tests and they go higher,
yeah,
or they move up. It wouldn't affect that. It would be if,
It would affect the fire department from assistant chief
well,
up to, through the fire chief.
yes.
wouldn't affect them. It just would, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't affect
prohibit
them if
them
they were
from-
gonna leave, then we would advertise.
So if,
It would affect the road department. It would affect,
are
it
you,
would affect every department in some form or fashion.
It just put more applications in the
But it
file,
wouldn't
right?
prohibit.
Exactly right.
Yeah, it wouldn't
But it-
prohibit anyone from putting in.
No, it would.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, you
I don't see
have been on several of the things when you get, instead of, if you know that Sally Smith is the best candidate and is the person that's been doing the job, but now you got 28 applications for a job that you knew that this person is going to be the one that would that you want to move up
But
to.
Sally would move to the top, but if you
Not
had,
necessarily.
But if
I
you
mean,
had
but
three
but you still
applicants-
gotta go through 3-4 days of interviews because you got this many applications, as opposed to saying, okay, now we've got one person that we knew was qualified for it.
but if you have, what's wrong with this? If you have 3 internally that apply for it and you don't want any of them, then you gotta tell them, well, sorry, guys, but we're gonna go externally and see what we can
Well,
find.
and and the part of
don't
that
like
is that if you if you got 3 and you knew that you didn't want them, then obviously, and that they would not be qualified, then obviously you'd say, okay, we want to do external and internal.
Well, I think you need to do it from the get-go. I'm just putting it out there, want to hear what everybody else has to say.
I thought we were doing that now.
The only issue I'd like to bring up is, let's say, for instance, our accounts payable clerk resigned. And we know that we have qualified applicants here that may be interested. That position is vacant. The State Journal, it's hard to, it only runs twice a week. To wait on the weekend edition, then you're gonna push out running the advertisement. So that's another week, 2 weeks added to that vacancy. Then you have to schedule interviews. Then once you have to catch the next
It
fiscal
definitely
court
prolongs
meeting,
the
which could be
process,
another
sure.
3 weeks away, depending on how that fell. Then that person gives their 2-week notice. So it can, in some circumstances, really push it out there, that vacancy, keep it vacant for longer than.
But aren't we,
But the
Aren't we
person that moves
frustrated?
up, you're gonna have a vacancy there too.
And typically, most of our positions, I believe, are being advertised both internally and externally.
Yeah, the only one that really hasn't been is the fire department just recently with well, actually with the chief and the assistant chief. Those
And
are
that
all
worked
done
out
internally.
great. but I just don't think it always will.
Well, I think that it's more trouble than it's worth. Poor Betty Jo will have to just put a cot in her room to sleep.
well, I mean, but in one sense, it demonstrates the number of people that absolutely want to be part of the Franklin County government family. When you open that up to, anyone applying that meets the minimum qualifications, when we were looking at the most recent round of treasurer applications, we had 30+ applicants that came in. We spent a very small amount of time winnowing that process down to a manageable number of
6.
candidates to review. And so there wasn't length of time or anything like that added to the process. And I think I heard everyone say, we want the best qualified applicant for this position.
Why should we want anything less for any other?
Correct.
Well,
And so I'm agreeing with what Squire Moore is saying in that regard.
Well, and in that, Susan is still here.
Yeah.
But if
Sure.
Susan had given her 2-week notice and that position is vacant by the time we are able to get an advertisement in the State Journal, that is where the issue is going to come in, is just that advertising window. And then
Yeah.
that court.
Well, the paper has lost a lot of its
I
circulation.
think, I want you to take a step back and think about this. You have given faith. We have 2 departments, the fire department and the road department, that have deputy directors or assistant chiefs or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
You've established those positions here just recently in the past 10 years. And you said, when you hire them, you say to them, okay, we're putting you here because in the absence of, or when a vacancy occurs, we are expecting you to move up to that position. We expect you to be trained and qualified and ready to move up. If you're saying that, well, we're going to do external too, what you're saying is we like you, but we're going to look for other people. And that's
Well,
not
not
to me.
necessarily.
Well, yes, it is. That, clearly, that's what that says.
No,
It,
I don't
no,
know.
that's,
I don't
that's an
agree with
ultimatum
that.
and that's not true.
Yeah, I don't
No,
agree with
but
that.
I can't imagine someone coming in and doing, and that would be a better applicant than what our two assistants.
Yeah, but that's not my point. I agree, I agree, I agree, I agree.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
When you open it up and you get 3 applications and 2 of them are employees that are actually wanting to move up, and one of them is the assistant director, then those are internal, and that is healthy, because maybe one of those 2 might want to be the assistant director if the assistant director moved up. But if you get 35 applicants and you get 10 from Henry County, 3 from Henry County, 3 from Scott County, 3 from Woodford County, 3 from Anderson County, 3 from Shelby County, or whatever, all of a sudden, the whole dynamic changes. And it, to me, it's not supportive of our employees that have given time, that have worked through the process, that have working up the line. Maybe they'll come out, hopefully they'll come out, but it's put them in a different light than when you hire for that position, you're hired because that's what you expect. You expect that.
Judge,
That's my position on it.
Hey, Joe,
can I say, yeah, I just want to remind a couple of things for history. We had this in several years ago, Judge, when you was a magistrate. An example that we had was we had fire chief opening, and we spent over $10,000 in advertisements for that position. And we had 102 applications. And so I will let you all know this was a change that was done. I'm not for sure what court, but before we did it internal and external, sorry. It was before your time, Judge, and as judge.
I was a magistrate. I remember when.
Yes, remember
That
that?
was you, Amber.
Yes.
You voted to do it that way.
And so we decided to change it, but leave it up to the judge to decide if there's, if we should do it internal or external. So it has been done both ways. So you all can change it back, whatever you all want to do. But I just want to remind you that did happen. And it was changed back to, I've got to agree with the judge. I'm going to use, I hate using department. I'm going to use a park employee. If a park employee's been there 15 years and we have an assistant park director come up, I think it's going to look bad on the employee, and it's going to put a really bad morale on employees that they've worked 15 years and they've got to compete against outside. That's just my opinion. Like now, I received a resignation today from a road department, an employee, and if it was say if a heavy equipment operator, then that means that we're going to have to advertise internal and external for heavy equipment operator. Well, John and Stephen might have been working with someone for 10, 15 years and maybe they're ready to move up, but we won't be able to do that. So it's going to take us longer to get employees, open positions. So there's just a couple issues that I'm aware of that I just want to bring to y'all's attention.
I just put it out
Okay.
there.
Thank you.
I see it both ways, but what I'm looking at is the D section of this one. It leaves sole discretion up to the judge, because say the pool isn't big enough and you do open it outside, it's going to show the exact same thing then that it would if it was just already part of the policy. Right? So if you're saying that it hurts the inside pool, that would be a personal hurt to them. To say, no, we're changing it just for you, this one, because we don't like this one.
Yeah.
If we do it across the board, it's across the board. But if we pick and choose, like it's set up now.
Well, you gotta have some faith in the judge. The judge is not going.
Well, I do, but I'm just saying it's inconsistent.
And maybe the verbiage ought to be that, the judge would be able to say that, but the court could override the judge, or the court should have a say so, or the judge would take it to the court for concurrence, I guess, an agreement on it, if you wanted to do it that way. But really, your judge in this position you know more about the employees than any of you all know about. We see, we hear, we do evaluations, so we know who the employees are. And I think Franklin County has always elected good judges over the years that have the ability to find and look
So
at
far.
and evaluate quality people. Rarely have we, and I don't know of any, but I'm not saying 100%, but rarely have we put bad people in those top positions.
All right, we're about out of time. I just want to put it out there. It doesn't go anywhere. It's
Well, I would support it.
Yeah, I'm not against it.
There's
Because it
three.
doesn't prohibit anybody to put in.
That's the thing. It doesn't.
Chief
prohibit
Brewer, you're
anybody.
on. You want to say anything about that?
I was just gonna make a comment. The department head position is obviously well above my level, but I would hope that maybe the department heads would be included in the process of how the assistant department head would be positioned. So like the assistant chief for here or the assistant down at the road department. I would just hope that it would be written in a way that the department head will be included in deciding how that process would take place. Because the department heads will know if there's somebody qualified enough to take that position within their department as well.
And any judge would say that to
absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
But
In the interview
what's getting ready to
process.
happen is that you don't get to say that anymore. What's getting ready to change is that everybody's gonna get to have an application. If it's external and internal, then everybody gets to have an application for it. Now, what you could say is, okay, who do you recommend? But that's not fair to 25 other applicants if you're already saying, you want this one. If you go, you all understand
But I don't think
you are
it's-
developing a quandary here.
No,
It's not, it's
How
your,
many
It's more
hiring
character,
boards
right.
does a magistrate sit on? They're still gonna have and I know Brian and them they're different, but if you're at the road department, let's say John and Stephen are missing an employee, they advertise for it. They are the ones that hire. It's not a magistrate sitting on the board. We're trying to open it up to where they have more people to choose from. That's how I look at it.
What
Yeah.
if they
I
don't
mean,
want that?
you want
Then
the
they're
cream
gonna
of
hire
the
who they
cream.
want.
Yeah.
They're the one
But
that gets
so you're
that.
gonna make them go through a process of bringing 25 more applications in, and they're gonna hire what they want? What I'm saying is, how
say
is that fair to the 24 other applicants that you've opened it up for if they already know who they're gonna hire? That's not fair. So don't put them in a situation that's not fair. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I agree.
no.
What,
Let it go.
you got 4 votes to do it. I guess that's what you
You wanna
want.
ask for
No,
more?
I didn't vote for it. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Squire Miller, what do you think?
I see both sides of the thing. What Squire Blackburn made a good comment that if there's not enough people in the pool for that area, I think it puts us in a weird spot to be able to pick and choose if we don't have enough people internally. So from a legality standpoint, I don't know if that's right, because if one department has plenty of internals to choose from, that's great. But if it's a smaller department that doesn't, then that kind of handcuffs us too. So I see both sides of the story.
You still have the ability to do external and internal, and we've done that dozens of times. Was it gonna be internal only, or is it gonna be internal and external? So we're still doing that. You still have that ability. The issue is not whether you have a pool or not. The issue is whether you have to, no matter what, do external, even if there's a big pool. Why would you want to do external? But if you approve this, you got to do it no matter what. That's
So
the issue.
you're going to be a judge next year, so what do you think?
Rick, how does that work? I mean, how can we pick and choose what goes internal and what goes external? Is that okay?
That's the way it's written right now. I'll tell you how we do it. The first thing that I ask as a judge is, do we have qualified candidates? Do we have people that we want in the position? Is there somebody that you want as a department head in the position that you think is qualified? Are they qualified? If the answer is yes, then I'd say we'll do internal. Do you have somebody that is not, do you have anybody in line? No, I don't. I don't have anybody in line. I don't have anybody qualified. Then the judge said, then I say, okay, let's do external and internal.
I think that's fair and the right way to do it. Because we want to encourage our employees and keep them for a long time. I mean, that's what we've always said.
That doesn't change. Doesn't change at all. Look at it another way. I mean, you can look at this 100 different ways. The main thing is, say you have 3 internal that apply, and then the judge says, well, I don't like any of those 3. I'm going to open it wide open so we can get any applicant in
He
there.
didn't say that. He asked
It
the
just tells
department
those
head.
3. Well, let me finish my statement. It just tells
That's
those
what I was
3 that
saying.
applied from internally that, no, we don't want you. We want to apply from outside.
Well,
Because you're picking.
Well,
no,
that's,
You're picking when you do it.
You're skewing it the wrong way.
No, I'm looking at it all the way around. You're only
I
gonna
think
pick
that's an emotional
externally
response.
in a situation where you don't like your
I'm
internal
not arguing
candidate.
anymore. Do you have 4 votes for it? If you have 4 votes for it, go ahead and do it. I don't care, whatever. I'm out of here, so if that's what you want to do, I promise you will come back and look at this and say, how did we?
Has
do
it
this?
gone back and forth
Yeah.
over the years?
Yep.
Does
It has.
anybody-
Yes, yep. We
Oh.
saw that this was a bad thing.
All right, I'm willing to withdraw it.
Okay,
You're willing to withdraw
Well, I'm willing to keep it in there.
it? Okay.
I don't understand why you're withdrawing it. I mean,
Well,
this should
when
be
we-
voted
when we
up or
had
down.
Problems with it before.
and he was here.
and I was here.
Mhm.
I tried to get it to where the fiscal court made that decision, but it didn't pass.
Oh,
And it was left to the judge.
well, maybe we should make that the code.
It comes down to micromanaging, so if you do that, I'm not gonna push it.
All right, so Lambert, you're now a no.
So Michael, where's that put you, Squire Muller?
Sorry, second.
I'm sorry?
I don't know what he said.
He said
Are you
just a
sick?
second. He's coughing.
Square Booth,
Well, I
are
know
you
how
a
that
yes
is.
or a no?
No,
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
No one appreciates our employees more than I do.
I know that, Lambert. That's
And
true.
it's not about that. It's about
It's
getting
not
the
about
best
them.
applicants for the job. But
It's 3-3. so
And I agree
it's-
with that.
if you're adamantly against it,
you know what JT Electrical told me one time?
JW, I'm guessing.
Go ahead, Squire Muller.
I'm okay with the way it is now, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, all right, decided it.
That's
All right,
perfect.
Thank you. All right,
Can we take like 1 minute?
we're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Please?
Yes, we're gonna take a 5-minute break before we start, Andrew, okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna need a
Everybody
minute
that's in
or
the
two.
waiting room, have everybody waiting at 5:10, we'll
Thank you.
start.
Thank you. That stuff will, but I can go ahead and do.
Camera, do we need to do anything?
Will you
Okay.
get me another bottle of water?
sure.
Here, just reach it over here and I'll sit down. I gotta go.
Okay.
Where does that go?
Thanks.
It's item number 6, the one that's just gonna be on for.
Number 6.
I'm
Because you're
sorry,
usually
it's
right
like-
up there. You're at
I
number
usually
2 and I
do.
was like,
It's-
that ain't number
I'm
2.
trying to get ready for vacation. trying to get started together.
So your head's where?
And today's the last day to.
Where's your
come on
vacation?
Panama City Beach, and today's the last day for county alcohol licenses, so it's been quite the
Oh.
busy day.
Panama City has got clear water.
Yeah, my flight just got canceled.
Well, that's great.
That stinks.
Mhm.
There's been 23,000 flights
Oh, dear.
canceled since May. And it's June 30th. 23,000.
I know this.
What's,
I've been watching it every day.
Did you see the Delta pilots marching They're not striking. It was all off-duty guys, but there was at least 100 of them.
From what?
They were talking about striking because of pay and working
Where
conditions.
was that?
Okay.
JFK Airport. And so last year there was about 10,000 cancellations between May and June, and this year it's 23,000.
She just got appointed by the city.
So if I had a
Yeah.
trip planned, I would have a car backup ready.
Really?
So if we don't approve it.
Nothing like
then it's
spending the night in an airport